Hey everyone, you're going to absolutely love this podcast that we just did. 33-year-old and 25-year-old that are building boutique hotels around the world, from Bali to Sicily to Cape Town. And not only that, but they're actually fractionalizing the ownership. What this means is they're offering fractional ownership to people. Anyone around the world can invest in these boutique hotels. Now, what they've done is Jake Snow has been a travel blogger, travel influencer, along with his missus for over the last 10 years. They stayed in boutique hotels, got paid to stay in 5 and 6 star hotels around the world. And what they've taken is all of those experiences, and now they're building their own boutique hotels with spas, restaurants, yoga, Pilates. They're building one right now on a black sand beach, and they're going to have a stable with white horses that the horses will be frolicking up and down the beach. It's just amazing what some of these young guys are doing. They're based in Dubai and they're traveling all over the world and now bringing opportunities like this to you guys. So I think you guys are going to really, really like this when we dig deep into what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, how people can fund it, and the future vision of travel. And one of the big things that they do is they get a lot of direct bookings because of the influence that they have. Over 1.5 million followers. Some of their hotels have 400,000 followers on Instagram. It's an absolutely intriguing podcast. You guys are absolutely going to love it. All right, welcome to another episode of the Unemployable podcast. Today we got two special gentlemen joining us from Dubai at the moment. We got Jake and Nils. How are you guys?
Very good as well. Thank you. Some technical issues coming in, but now we're good.
We did, but that's fine. I just want to start off by, they say influencers can't build real businesses. This is something that I hear all the time, right? But you guys basically are proving everybody wrong, because you guys are co-founders of Ventori, which is a hospitality group that's redefining what boutique hotels can do, right? They're profitable, they're viral, and what you guys are doing really is unforgettable. In this episode, we're going to unpack what these guys have done through their social media, and now they're turning it into serious real estate. We're going to talk about the risks, we're going to talk about the wins, and the future of travel, in their opinion, and how they're working with everyday people to invest in these ventures with them all around the world. Us as people are very used to just looking and living and investing in the 5 kilometer radius that we live in. And what Jake and Nils are doing is something totally different. And they're building these boutique hotels from places in Bali, Sicily. They're looking at places in Cape Town, Mallorca, Dubai, all over the world. And it's incredible what you guys have done in a fairly short period of time. And what's quite interesting is I connected with Jake probably about 18 months ago randomly, because I was seeing what they were doing. And we got on a phone call for about an hour. And I was telling him what we were doing with Unemployable. And fast forward to today, their marketing manager reached out to us, Flora, randomly. I don't think Jake and Nils knew this at the time, going, hey, we'd like to come on the podcast. And then I'm like, oh, wow, let's get on a call. And there was Jake and Nils and Flora, and we were chatting. So it's amazing how small the world is. So really appreciate you guys coming on and telling your story and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, that means a lot. And we love what you guys are about and what you talk about, and the things that we talk about a lot and what we're doing. They're very intertwined. So excited to get into it.
Yeah. And we have a more familiar face on the podcast for those of you guys watching. Perry. Perry's our CEO, and he's amazing in front of camera. And we thought it would be good to get him on this one as well. It was going to be just me and the boys. And I thought, you know what, let's get Perry back on. Perry's based in Thailand. You guys are in Dubai. Here I am on the Gold Coast. So Perry, thanks for joining us as well.
Yeah, look, well, first of all, on that note, aren't we influencers by this point, Eric? So shouldn't we be, doing a lot more kind of influencer things? I don't even know, what do influencers do these days? What is an influencer? I'll actually ask you, Jake, on that first.
Yeah, great question. And I could talk about this forever, because what Eric said before about how influencers can't create real businesses and things like this, it's been a long journey. My wife and I got into Instagram 10 years ago, and we completely fluked it. We didn't really mean to do it. And we kind of just realized that maybe this is the way the world is going. Attracting attention, getting that attention online, that attention economy could really take off. And we just love taking photos and making videos. And fast forward to where we are now, we have 1.5 million followers on Instagram, 800,000 on TikTok, and it's just wild. But to answer your question, what is an influencer? I think an influencer is it's just someone who shares what they're passionate about online, and maybe they're not passionate about it, and there's some bad influencers, let's be honest. What you're passionate about online, attracting attention and pushing people in certain directions, and teaching them, educating them, inspiring them, entertaining them, whatever it is. And I think it's amazing. 10 years ago when we first started, our parents were, what the hell is this? This is not a real job. You guys are wasting your time. And fast forward to now, it really is an amazing tool for people, especially in our generation, to use to share what they're passionate about, build businesses, like what we have, and build communities of like-minded people like what you guys are doing. It's amazing. There's a lot of negative that comes with it, but it is a great tool.
I want to pull on that thread in a bit, but before we go on, I was really interested on how you've then transformed or transferred some of your influence into actual business, and has there been any kind of issues with doing that as well? Have you lost people because of that? Have you lost quote unquote authenticity? Because our audience mainly are business owners, professionals who are trying to build their own influence in one way or another, and they understand that using socials, using YouTube, using these different channels is such an important part of it now. You have to be a Renaissance man at this point in life, right? But it's how have you found turning that audience that are organic into business, really?
Yeah, it depends. It all depends from the beginning what your intention is. When Marie and I started, we didn't think we would start a business with it. We thought that there might be a future there. So we kept pulling on that thread, and it was really hard for us to convert from being these genuine travel couple who are just sharing inspiring stuff to then promoting some of our businesses, because we did lose a lot of people because they're we didn't come here for this. We just came here for you to inspire us and to show us some cool places around the world. So we had to dive in the deep end and kind of go, you know what? This is a business now. If you like what we're doing, great, stay with us. If you don't, that's okay. You can also leave, because this is truly us. What we're selling to you, the businesses we're building, we really believe in, and we believe they give value to people. So we're not ashamed to promote them. And nowadays, everybody knows that that's the game. Yeah. So you don't have to hide behind anything now. It's like if you're staying at a hotel and you tag it, you're probably having a free stay. If you're sharing a product that you're using and it seems authentic or genuine, you're probably getting paid for it. I think everyone knows that's the game now, so you don't have to hide. But the key is, do whatever you're promoting, whatever you're sharing, make sure that you really believe in it and you really would want to use it yourself. Because if you start selling stuff that you don't believe in, that's when people will start to catch on and say, hey, you guys are fake. You're just trying to make money using us, which is the worst place you would be.
I just love that you guys came from influencers, travel bloggers, traveling around the world, staying in the best accommodation, right, for free, basically, so you guys can post about it and talk about it and review it. And then you took that experience, which is a unique experience, because not many people are ever going to get that experience staying in 5-6-star hotels all around the world. And you've taken that experience and now you've implemented that into your own business to give that experience to other people around the world. And what you guys are building at the moment, the luxury boutique hotels and villas in Bali predominantly at the moment, but I know that you guys are now looking at different areas around the world, which we'll get into. But you guys are creating, you're not just creating a hotel, you're not just creating villas, you guys are creating experiences, right? To, you know, restaurants, spas, yoga, Pilates, wellness. I mean, these guys are building things where, you know, they've got a horse stable in one of their properties, you know, on a black beach with white horses. Like, my missus sends me this stuff on Instagram. This is the stuff she sends me. It's like, I want to go here, I want to go there, right? Because it's unique. And what you guys have is that flair. And I obviously, from all those years of traveling and now implementing it for other people, to be to actually get that experience. And not only that, you're now taking this business to another level and going, you know what, we want to give this experience not just to people staying, but we have a business model here where we want other people that are like-minded like us, right, that want to invest in these types of businesses with us, where we're retaining the management, we're retaining the ownership, people are getting paid dividends, people are getting owner stays. Like, this is such a cool experience, because with Unemployable and what we're doing with the podcast, we're looking at very unconventional ways for people to invest in different things around the world. The word unemployable, right, can mean a lot of different things. It can mean unemployable through business. It could be unemployable through real estate. It could be unemployable through, you know, cryptocurrency, depending on what you want. So we're looking at all these different opportunities all the time, and opportunities like this come up where we get to get two young guns, right, that are literally shaking and moving and investing in, you know, amazing pieces of real estate around the world, and then bringing it to people like us. I'll never forget the first time 18 months ago when we talked, because I did a bit of research. I'm like, you know, good looking young couple, influencers, you know, can get a real understanding of what they're doing, amazing in photography, amazing in videography. And then we get talking about business, right? And then here I am pitching to Jake going, you know, we got Unemployable podcast. This is what we're doing. This is when we first kind of started, you know. He's probably looking us up going, you got 2,000 subscribers, man, shut up, you know. And and he mentions his business partner Nils, this German guy, you know, that knows about developing and this and that. And I had in my mind an older German dude, right, with all this cash that he's gotten involved with. And then, honestly,
I remember first time we spoke, it was like, so you're Niels. Like, I'm meaning 2-year-old.
I couldn't believe it, right? Like, I was just like, wow, like, it's amazing where the world is going, where you can get young guys like yourselves that, you know, are tax residents of Dubai, right? One's originally from Australia, one's originally from Germany, and they're off camera, they're telling us about where they're going. Like, I went back to Bali, back to Dubai, back to Sicily, then we're going to Cape Town because we're looking at a property there. And it's just, this is like everyone's dream, right?
Yeah, it is.
So what I want to start unpacking now, guys, for the audience is, what do you guys actually do? Ventori, right? What are you guys doing right now with your group, with your company, and where is it going?
That was an amazing kind of lead up to this. Thanks for that, Eric. And Niels will get into the operation sides of things, but there's definitely like two real facets to this. And the first part, what you mentioned, is like that product, the experience that we're creating, and where that I suppose that experience that we have comes from, and then the marketing and sales of it. And then it's like, how do we actually execute that and make sure it works and we're mitigating risk? So the first part that you mentioned is, my wife and I, fortunate enough, we were travel influencers. We are a travel couple. Most people are like, what even is that? But for 6 years, it was our full-time job to get paid to fly to all of the 5-star hotels and resorts around the world. And we would have to go there, create photos and videos of those properties, and then promote them on our channels and give the hotels also the content that we created. And the ultimate goal of that was to increase their exposure, to increase their bookings, to lift up their occupancy. And so once you've done that a couple hundred times and you've stayed at all of the best places all around the world, and every time you're going there, you're trying to think of what is the special feature in this place that can potentially go viral that we need to share with our audience. You really start to, look at everything with it through a different lens, right? Some hotels are absolutely amazing when you're staying there, but you can't capture the content that goes viral because they don't have the right lighting, they don't have the right color palettes, they don't have the right features. And Marie and I, my wife, every time we would post a new place, we were getting data back from our audience on whether this place was good or not in the eyes of our community. And so some places we would stay at, we would show it and we'd be like, it was amazing. And then we would get like really low comments, really low shares. For some reason, our audience wasn't connected to it. And then other places, it would go completely viral. And so we've stayed at all of the best hotels and resorts all around the world. And you start to understand what makes a place really successful. And at the beginning of COVID, we made some money and we were ready to invest ourselves. And we thought, as an influencer, if we just keep working for these other brands, we're literally just an employee of these brands. Right? They pay us, we come in, we do the job. And any other product brands, that's what influencers do. We still have jobs. We have clients that we have to work for. We want to build our own place. And so taking all of that experience of like what makes a place go viral, what makes it attractive online, we dove in Bali, invested $1 million basically into 2 boutique hotels. And that kicked off the most stressful, painful, horrible, but wonderful experience all in one, because developing in Bali is crazy, and Niels can get into that a bit later as well. But learning the hard way what to do, what not to do in a market or in a country where you have a lot of flexibility, and if you want something done, you can make it happen. You might have to find a way, but you can. We managed to create these really successful boutique hotels that were 95% occupancy from the first month. And we essentially made our money back in less than 18 months on those properties. And they're just basically globally famous now. They have hundreds of thousands of followers, these properties. And now they have their own funnels, the Instagram pages, direct new customers and guests all the time. And we basically don't have to do anything. And what that did for us was create a passive income stream that comes in every month and allows us to live the life that we want to live. So we have lots of other businesses, but those businesses, we realized that this hotel resort kind of investment is really only for multi-millionaires, right? And it's such a tough market to get into if you don't have some kind of leverage like 1.5 million followers or the understanding of how to attract people. It's a really hard market. But when you go to places like Bali and you understand how to mitigate the risk, you can achieve really good profit margins, which lead to really good returns. And that's something that Neil can get into a little bit, but that's how this all kind of started. And when the more we learned about it, the more we realized that if we I wanted to do something that felt really good for me that I could do for the rest of my life. And the same with Niels. And we had a lot of real estate investment funds and hedge funds come to us and say, we want to give you 10 million and we want you to build this hotel for us. You can have a small percentage and let's do it. And I thought about it. I was like, I don't want to make more money for these massive hedge funds and then once again have a boss. And so we started to think is there another way to raise capital and a way to kind of help the people that have helped us throughout our journey? Without our followers, we would have, we wouldn't be living this life. And then, with Niels, and I'll introduce Niels in a second and he can discuss all of this. We found a way through Dubai to be able to fractionalize these properties and get our community into them for a much lower entry price and allow them to access the same returns that we're able to access. And instead of, raising capital from the biggest hedge funds, we can bring all of our community in and we can all kind of achieve success together. And it just created a win-win-win scenario, which is what we're all about. We get to create projects that we're really passionate about and that we love to do. It's really my passion. We get to give the guests, when they're staying at our properties, an amazing experience that then they can share with all of their friends and family. And then we're allowed to bring our community in as investors so that they can actually profit from it as well. And so, this is something Niels and I are really passionate about, and we can imagine doing this for the rest of our lives. It doesn't really feel like a job. We're helping people become financially free with the coolest projects around the world. So
Can I just ask on that? Like, so one of the things you just said, which is shown to me, is that because you've had so many years of experience understanding the lighting, the visuals, so let's say that you have these people that are staying at these hotels, right? You said you've got 95% occupancy, right? When they're taking these photos, when they're taking these videos, they're basically becoming your marketing tool in themselves as well, because you've already know the things that they're going to be taking photos of, visuals, which you spent 10 years going, why would this go viral?
Yeah, 100%. That is the thesis, and that's why it works, because your customers who are paying you become your organic marketing, and they're not even doing it for free. They're paying you to do it. But they love it. And so, you really have to understand, what will people want to share with their family and friends when they're on holiday? Everyone loves to share their holiday, right? It's like human psychology. It's like, look where I am. I'm not working. Everyone at home has to see this. We're kind of status farming, which is a normal thing. We all do it, and it's not something to be ashamed of. And when you can allow your guests to be able to kind of brag about, where they're staying and how cool it looks and the experiences that they have, they will do it. And that's why our properties, we end up having this Instagram flywheel where every guest creates a new guest because they shared their experience when they stayed. And once you hit that flywheel, you never have to worry about new guests ever again, because everyone is sharing their experience.
And I would like to touch on that later, why that is actually a risk mitigation strategy. So if we break down what we're doing, is we're designing, building, and operating boutique hospitality assets around the world that, as Jake mentioned, we fractionalize. So investors can kind of participate in them and get dividends. And there's two things how we're doing it. And the first thing is, you guys touched on it earlier, is the experience part. We're thinking an experience from A to Z. So investing with us is actually an experience. You get on a call with someone from our team, you guys get to know, we kind of introduce projects, we can kind of see if you believe in the project, if you think that, presenting the vision and everything. You'll be onboarded to a completely online, custom built investor portal where you can access all of the information, updates on the properties, and all of that. So we're trying to make this an experience. We'll host investor events probably later this year, and then regularly in 2026 to build a community around it. We're building those experiences for the guests, because while Jake loves, his passion is kind of designing and visualizing these beautiful projects, my passion is to build businesses. I'm not very much in love with the whole designing aspect and everything of it, but where we are usually at is we're operating in somewhat emerging markets, and with emerging markets comes great opportunities, but also more risk. For example, places like Dubai, Bali, probably Thailand as well, development is crazy, right? You look to the left, you look to the right, everywhere is construction sites. So if you decide to just buy an apartment in Dubai or build a villa in Bali or in Thailand or whatever, and that is your only strategy, is it to put this villa on Airbnb and hope it'll get booked, you're actually completely dependent on the supply and demand of the overall country and the region. While what we're doing with our projects is because Eric's wife is sharing our Instagram reels to Eric, no matter if there's 100,000 villas in Bali or 1,000,000 villas in Bali, Eric's wife will still share our projects, and they will still travel to our projects. So we can mitigate our risk within those emerging markets because we built those unique experiences that create that Instagram flywheel.
Yeah.
What are your? Sorry, go on, Eric.
I was in a holiday accommodation space for many years with my business partner, and we just sold in December to a private equity firm, and he's in Dubai right now as we speak. Actually, no, he just left and he's in Europe, and then we're meeting back in Dubai. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, right? Because we managed about 150 apartments and luxury apartments in all different buildings. And we were held over the barrel by Booking.com, Airbnb, Expedia, right? Because the OTAs, which are OTA stands for online travel agent, they promote so much that you cannot compete with them in regards to a Google search and ads. They are everywhere, right? But the competitive advantage that you guys have, right? Not only is it the experience and the travel experience and whatnot, but it is the credibility, it is the relevance, right? That Jake and Marie have built over time, right? To then now with Nils and what you're doing and the experience on building the businesses and developing it, because talking about it is one thing, actually designing, building, managing, and doing it at a profitable level is very difficult, right? And I know so many people right now that are building villas in Bali. And that's why I was interested, because I'm like, I want to start investing overseas a little bit, right? And, a little bit of differentiation, good excuse to travel. And I was looking at Bali heavily. And but the thing is not only is it's more of a kingdom, really, when you're looking at it from an investment point of view, to do it on your own, is everyone's doing, I feel, the same thing. They're building a villa, right? They're it's fully rendered. They've got the arches. They got the Phoenician plaster. They got the pool with no pool fencing because there's no regulations there. So everything looks that much better, right? And then they're going and putting it on Airbnb and Booking.com and hoping. And let me tell you that can work from time to time, but that's a one-trick pony, right? And what I loved about what you guys do is the influence that you guys have built over time, and the direct bookings that you guys have. Like for those of you guys that don't know how the holiday accommodation works, I'm not going to sit here and start mentioning how much commission's paid out to these OTAs, right? But it's hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, depending on what type of property that you own, that you're paying out to these OTAs to get the booking. They own nothing other than the website that you book through, because they've based it on trust, right? And the guarantees and, the pay now, pay later, free cancellation up to 48 hours and all these types of things. But let me tell you, because I know how things work, when I call and book accommodation anywhere, right? I don't care where it is, anywhere. I'm like, hey, how are you? Yeah, good, right? Just so you know, I've got Booking.com up. I want to, do a direct booking, but I've been in the holiday accommodation business. I know how this works, right? We own a holiday accommodation business here in Australia. I'd love to book direct with you guys, right? What can you do for me? And that's how it starts. And I always get a better rate because they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. And it's thousands of dollars, right? It's thousands of dollars. And the thing is, with what you guys are doing, even if you're 95% occupancy, if 50% of it is still booked through OTAs, because OTAs, we all need them, right? We're not saying that it's just all these are going to be booked direct all the time, but that high percentage of direct bookings adds so much value to the bottom line on the return that the investor that the owner of the property can get. It is ridiculous, the amount. And that is, from my understanding, from my experience and understanding in the industry, what really that light bulb moment for me. And investing in something like this with you guys in the past, that's why I reached out at that time. It's incredible.
I'm like tingling, and I really want to jump in because you've nailed a lot right there. And I bring up a few points that this OTA thing it's 100% real. All right, so Booking.com, it's around 21%. Airbnb is around about the same, and that's not so bad if they're bringing you in business. That's completely fine. But like you said, what happens if they say now it's 35%, and it's the only way you get customers? You're what, bent over the barrel, exactly like you said. What happens if Airbnb is not allowed to work in Indonesia anymore? The government say no more Airbnb. Your business is now zero. So those direct bookings are crucial, and it is a part of our business model, and it's why we're able to achieve such good returns. Because if we can hit 50% direct bookings, you're right, you're saving 10% on your OTAs across the entire year. Our businesses, so Marja and Bella Jar, our 2 boutique hotels, this is true. We were 100% direct for the first year. We didn't even open with OTAs, and we were still hitting 90% occupancy. So it's a superpower. And the other thing that you mentioned about the villas, and Niels, we discuss this all the time. If you're building a product that everyone else is building, you are at the mercy of the market. And so in Bali 6 years ago, if you built a villa, you probably have your money back by now, for sure. Because at the time, there was very little supply and very high demand. And now we're in 2025, the supply is going through the roof and the demand is still increasing, but nowhere near the pace of the supply. And so what happens then? Everybody who's built a villa gets, instead of 80% occupancy like they thought, now they're getting 50. And instead of a 12, 15, 20% return on investment, now it's like 5, 6, 8, which at that point, it's not worth, risking your in Bali for an 8% return. We've seen this happen. So we have a lot of villas. The way that we keep our occupancy high is just through understanding social media, pushing really amazing content all the time, resharing the people who are coming to stay, all of their content. And so we can still outperform with our villas, but that's also why we've moved now to this resort and hotel model, because when you have an incredible boutique resort, no one can compete with that. You're one of one, you have experiences like horses on the beach. Who else has that? And so we are now going into products that we know no one can compete with us in, that will be unique and that will be able to stand the test of time when it comes to market fluctuations and things like that.
So just another business focused question. So obviously you use OTAs for part of your bookings, and you also have direct marketing, which is your socials. Do you do any paid media at all?
Not at the moment.
No, we've never done paid up until this point.
So this is a really important thing. You haven't even touched paid yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's all organic. Everything is organic, that's the craziest part. And so it literally is, someone sees an Instagram reel that maybe their friend shared, or they just see it on their explore feed. They're like, wow, this looks amazing. They click on that reel, they go onto that page. There's a link in the bio and it says, book here. They click on the link in bio, they go to the website, and directly from the website, they make their booking. And it's with our projects, because they're so unique and exclusive, we want people booking months and months in advance, not waiting till they get to Bali. They're in Canggu, now they're going to Uluwatu in the next 3 days. Look on booking.com and see what's available. That doesn't happen with us. It's like people are booking before they come on their holiday, because it's a bucket list experience that they have to have when they're coming.
So, I'm going to be devil's advocate here, right? And go, yeah, that's all great. That sounds amazing. But why wouldn't people just do it themselves? Because in Bali you can build for $1,000 a square meter, including furniture, and you can get $500 a night, and I can hire a couple builders and they can manage it for me, and I can go there. This is what's happening. I know a lot of people that are doing this, right? And you hear amazing stories, and you hear a lot of horror stories, right? Because people don't understand. Let's talk about Bali for a second, right? And I know you guys are going to different areas, which we'll talk about. But Bali is very different than Australia. In Australia, you go, you buy a property, right? It's all above board. You get the piece of paper, you get the loan, you get the documents, you're on the title. It's safe. My money is safe. How does it work in Bali, right? With purchasing in Bali, leasehold land, freehold land. Explain that to us so that way the listener can get a good understanding on how it works there. Because I mean, all you got to do is type in Bali or look at Bali or Bali investments, Bali villas, and next thing you know, you're getting smashed with advertisements going X% return, X%, invest here, invest with our business. It is a market that can get saturated very, very quickly with so much inflow, right, of people wanting your attention. So let's explain to the audience, I guess, how does it work and what are the risks that are involved, specifically around Bali, for someone just to go there and do it themselves?
So if you mentioned it, you have leasehold and freehold. I would say 95% of transactions are being done leasehold. So you find a local Indonesian landowner, you rent the land from him for a long period of time. Usually it's 25 years, for example. And then it's up to you kind of to negotiate. Can you extend? Can you not extend? And this is the first pitfall for most people because they don't understand the law and how to negotiate. So let's just put that aside for now. Most villas are leasehold. So you own the land for 25 years, or you rent the land for 25 years. You can build something on it, and what you built on it, you own for the 25 years. After the 25 years, everything goes back to the landlord, and he can either like enjoy a good time in his new house or kind of continue renting your place or whatever. Then 10%, when you're talking like the big hotels and all of like the resort chains and the high net worth individuals, they're usually purchasing freehold, which is also what we're focusing on. So with that, you have freehold. However, freehold is not as freehold as you would have in Australia or in Germany. You transform that freehold title because only an Indonesian citizen, as per my knowledge, can own freehold. If you have it in the name of a business, you transform it into a HGB, which is kind of the right to use. However, that title, that HGB, you can extend continuously, so it never runs out. I believe you have it for 35 years plus 25 plus 35 plus 25. So you just keep on renewing. And if you sell it, you can sell it back freehold. So you can sell it back to an Indonesian citizen, or you can sell it to another business, whatever. Those are kind of how it works. Why I believe you shouldn't go and just buy a villa is, if you, as you mentioned, potentially you can find land and you can build for $1,000 US per square meter and whatever. Bali is a tropical island with a lot of rainfalls and a lot of humidity and all of that. Do you want to be the one managing it? Do you want to be the one fixing leaks, running behind kind of contractors, chasing them up, having problems with your furniture designer or furniture production company, which sits in Java, which is like a flight away? Are you really going to chase them down and kind of handle all of that stress just for that one villa? And because it's so unregulated, stuff like that happens. You need to have a great team that advises you, that has the right contacts, that actually supervises. Like, we build everything ourselves. We're not relying on like third-party contractors closing our eyes, hoping things will work out, as 90% of the market do. So your risk is just astronomical.
I have a lot that I can add to that. When you're investing in anything, it's always a risk versus reward play. And when you're investing in Bali on your own, with no contacts, no experience, no understanding of how it works in this market, your risk is so much higher, but your reward is the same, right? So for us, we have a team of lawyers, we have engineers, we have our own project managers, we have all of the architects. We've worked in this market now for many, many years, understanding how to get these deals done, what needs to be in these contracts, what to look for when it comes to materials and all of these things. And like Neil said, I think the most important part, and I can tell you some horror stories, I think the audience might like that, are the people who are building your project incentivized to do the right thing? And if they're a third-party contractor in Bali, almost always they're incentivized to do the wrong thing, because the market is so hot and there's no network of investors talking to each other. Any contractor could burn any bridge and still get work tomorrow, right? There's no risk in them running out of work because there's so much. So that's number one. Then the other thing is, if you're paying with, let's say, a fixed budget, and they know this is the maximum amount we can make, they're incentivized then to use the cheapest materials and get it done as fast as possible, because there's no incentive for them to do a good job, right? And then if you do the opposite, they're getting paid per day, then they're incentivized to drag it out as long as possible. And we've experienced this firsthand, because they are not working for you. They're a third-party contractor. You're paying them, but they have no incentive to protect you, to take care of you. And we realized everything changed once we hired our own in-house team, who are fully employed by us. They have full-time salaries. They even have, pension plans and things with us, where it's like, hey, just do the best possible job you can do. You're still going to get paid tomorrow. You're still going to get paid next year. The only way you lose your job is if you do a bad job, right? Or you're dishonest, or there's things like this. So that's how you align incentives with workers anywhere around the world, to be honest. But in Bali in particular, really important. And so we've created all of that stuff, and we've learned the hard way. My first project, just to give a real story, Maja, which is now a very successful boutique hotel. We started with a contractor who we thought was very reputable. At least they said all of the right things. But when it came to the project itself, about 50% of the way through, when Marie and I really started to spend a lot of time on the site, we started to notice some things. We started to realize that this maybe isn't how a construction should be run. And when you're coming from Australia, right, you have and I used to be a carpenter back in the day. So I know my way around a work site. You have different expectations in Australia. So when you're in Bali, you kind of just accept that, maybe that's the way it is. And then, now after doing it for years, it's not the way it is. It shouldn't be like that. The garbage disposal and the health safety on the site shouldn't be that bad, etc. And so our place was an absolute mess. But what happened was we started to notice that there was no workers on site. And we're making all of our payments on time, on schedule. And every time we're coming there, there's like one or two workers, and time is running, and we're thinking, where is everybody? And we're talking to the project manager, and he doesn't really have an answer. And then we talk to the developers, who are foreigners, and they're telling us everything we need to hear. And then at one point we come to the site, and all of the workers are there. And I go to see what they're doing, and they're pouring concrete down our plumbing, down our drains, because the contractor didn't pay the workers, and they, so they're not there, they're not working on site. And to pay back the contract or the developer, they poured concrete down all of our plumbing, and we literally had to, get these massive drills and drill it all out and rip up half of the plumbing. And at that point, I said to the developer, this is unacceptable. I don't care what you have to say. You didn't pay your workers, or at least they're saying that. I don't know what happened between you guys. And I said, I don't think I can move forward with this. And of course, when you're changing contractors, you're losing all of your warranty, right? So they said, yeah, okay, you can go with someone else, but we don't guarantee anything anymore. And I bit the bullet, went with another team that I ended up bringing in-house. And the things that we found with the septic tanks, and the plumbing and whatever. It cost us another 100,000 to fix it all up, and we didn't have any warranty. We couldn't go after them. They didn't care. Absolute nightmare. And thankfully, Marie and I had the finances and the resources and the patience and the ability to turn that all around. But for an average person, that could have been project done. You've put $500,000 into this or something. You don't have another 100K to go into it. Now you're trying to get loans from people and getting desperate, and really bad situation. So like, that's something that I'm glad we learned the hard way early, because we then put in safeguards and made sure that would never ever happen again. Now we have a team of hundreds of amazing, talented, trustworthy people.
So I just want to make sure, Perry, that Jerome puts up, as we're talking through this and mentioning these properties, some of the photos of these properties that Jake and Nils own, some of these boutique hotels in Bali, because they're absolutely spectacular. And this is what I love about you guys, is that you guys are in the trenches. You're actually doing it, right? You're rolling up your sleeves, getting dirty, making mistakes along the way, learning from them, and giving people an opportunity to see that. And I think that's very, very important, because with every business out there or every type of investment, there's so many, I guess, brokers talking about, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And, like, you guys come across as very, very authentic in what you guys are doing. And you guys work at, in my opinion, from what I can see, at a very, very high level. The renders that you guys use, the branding that you guys have as well, on the website, and just even on the that initial call that I had with Jake, and he was taking me through, the slideshow of, one of the developments with the black beach and the white horses, and the whole, like, the vision was unbelievable. And I can see that's where Jake's wheelhouse is, right? That creative, that buy-in, and you can see that vision. And we talk about it all the time with Unemployable, right? It's those little 1%, right, that change everything. Because for every great investment there are out there, there's 10 very average investments. And the first thing, like we're talking about Dubai property as an example, and I had 3 friends that don't know much about it. I said, when I say, hey, let's invest in Dubai, what's the first thing that you think of, right? And they're like, safety of my money. That's the first thing. So I want to get a good understanding, and for the audience that are listening, what are the risks, right? Like when someone's going, hey, and I know you guys are doing this multiple times, but when someone's going, okay, yeah, here's the bank account details, transfer 100 grand. What do they get? How does it work? What is the process? What are the legal documents? Are they speaking to a lawyer there? Are they speaking to a lawyer here? Like, can you unpack that a little bit, just so people get an understanding going, and I'm sure certain areas are different than others, but right now you guys are predominantly in Bali. And again, like I said, I want to touch base on a little bit of these other locations that you guys are looking at. But what does that actually look like from an investor thinking like, wow, I'd love to do something like that. This sounds amazing. But what are the actual risks? What should they be looking out for? Whether they're looking at, and this isn't just saying, hey, these are just opportunities that come up, right? So we're not driving one angle down someone's throat going, hey, to be unemployable, you have to go and see Jake, or you have to go and see Nils. They might be talking to another Jake and Nils over here, because I'm sure there's multiple Jake and Nils around, right? Doing similar things. But what should they be looking out for? And what's the point of difference, I guess, that you guys have for that safety? Because with people, we think with our croc brain, right? It's fight or flight. It's like the saber-tooth tigers chasing me down. It's, here's Jake and Nils, 2 polished, good-looking dudes. They're going to take my money and run to Mexico.
I can, for that maybe, because our business is based out of Dubai, and we're regulated with Abu Dhabi global markets, meaning like if we if we run away with anyone's money, we're in deep shit. Which that is, for example, something like if you give your money to a contractor or developer in Bali, like the risk is much higher because it's just so much more unregulated. So I believe this is one of kind of the safeguards that we establish for investors, having that investment model based out of a more established country and with a more established authority. First, what we always believe in is invest money that you can afford to lose. What I believe you should be looking out for is, are you trusting the vision of, first of all, the company that you're investing in that case us. Then third is, do you believe in the project? And that has two sides. From a visual and a branding and vision perspective, like, do you actually believe that this project, in our case, can be successful? And then second of all, just calculate also maybe a bit for yourself, and see, okay, like if I'm maybe not getting a 20% return, but it ends up being a 12% return, would I be happy with the pessimistic outcome? That's always what, like, I'm from Germany. We always think in the pessimistic cases when it comes to investing. So for me, it's always like the pessimistic case is the realistic, and my pessimistic case is kind of beyond the pessimistic that anyone tells me. And if I'm fine with that, I decided I believe in the vision. I'll be happy with the numbers it would be producing. I invest money that I can afford to lose. Perfect. You can go ahead. I believe what then to look out for is, of course, just the legalities of like agreements and stuff like that. But what also is important with our model is, because we're working with Abu Dhabi Global Markets, every investor also we need to do AML, so anti-money laundering requirements, and KYC, know your customer requirements. So we actually need to get like a few of like information, and then we submit that to ADGM as the authority, and they'll kind of run a check, and then they actually have the authority to approve or decline investors. We of course make sure that we only also talk to people and kind of move forward with that fit the requirements of being approved. But
how many people have you turned down? Quite a few people that have just not fit the criteria.
We turn down people on a daily basis in the calls. Like, we have not turned down anyone who kind of then moved into the further stages. But in the first stage, if you come to us and be like, let's say 50,000 euros, this is my last money, like this is the only money I have, for example, we're like, then you should not invest into a hospitality project anywhere in the world. Put a bit in crypto, put a bit in the stock market, like that's it. Second is, we're also religiously sorting out people that just don't fit our personality criteria, because in the beginning we always said, like, it's kind of like in a marriage, like we're in that for a very long time, and we need to work together. So if we're not on the same page or we don't get along, there's no point in us taking your money.
Yeah, and I think just to add a couple of other things to that, we're definitely not desperate, right? Yeah. And you know, a lot of these projects, we could essentially fund them ourselves if we wanted to, but getting other investors in and creating that win-win-win it's so purposeful for us, and we know that in the future this will lead to a really great business for us and for everyone invested. But when it comes to kind of risk as well, this fractionalized model that we've created now allows people to get in at a much lower entry price. You know, let's say in Australian dollars, 50 to 80,000, right? Where now you can access potential 20% returns on your 80,000, which you're still getting the same returns as someone who would own the whole place. But now you can just have, you know, one share that will appreciate, and that you also get dividends paid out. So fractionalizing it has helped us kind of de-risk it, because in the beginning our model was building villas for people where, yeah, you're putting in 500K, right? And that's a big chunk of money for your villa. And so that fractional model definitely de-risks, brings down the entry price. But what I really love about what we're doing is, our generation, we kind of got screwed, right? The fact is, living expenses has skyrocketed and wages has like just teetered. So that gap between what we have to spend every day and what we're actually making is crazy. And so our parents off one wage could easily pay a mortgage, pay off a house, and live a great life. We don't have that opportunity. And so what we're doing now is taking massive punts on crypto, right? And just being like, please work, with all of my money, please work. Or, some startup or some penny stock or something, just to try to get something to work so that you can free yourself from the rat race. Our generation, we have the internet and we have the ability to maybe have leverage where the generations before don't, by marketing and social media and things like that. And so what we're doing is we're combining that leverage of understanding social media, understanding that digital side of the business with real estate, like a real asset. If you're buying a share of this property, the land is there, the materials are there, everything is the value is there. We obviously just have to execute and build the thing, which is a step-by-step process where if you watch it every single day, it can't get out of hand. It only gets out of hand if you didn't look at it for 3 months and you go, oh shit, what happened? But the building process, it's very tangible, very trackable. The reports come through every day. It's on track. The risk is, will the thing hit that occupancy, right? That's the big question mark, and that's on us. We need to make sure that we're pumping this thing, we're hyping it, we're getting people there, and the business is operating and paying out those returns. But in the end, you still have a beautiful hotel on a really valuable piece of land that your share or what you've invested into is valued at, right? So maybe the dividend is a bit less, but if you want to sell that share, it's still worth something. It doesn't just go poof, like crypto or other.
That's what I like, right? Like when I talk about businesses with people, I'm like, you got to get paid three ways, right? Time, risk, and equity. And a lot of businesses get paid for a little bit of the time, a little bit of the risk, and none of the equity, because a lot of people are building businesses that they can't sell, right? They're just this cash flow kind of business that there's no equity being built. And I look at it very similar with what you guys are doing, right? You want to get paid, right, in at least a couple of those ways. Maybe not so much for the time, because there's not a lot of time from the investor's point of view, but for the risk and the equity part. And in my opinion, what you guys are doing is very, very different than anyone else. And I want to be very clear for anyone listening to this. Leasehold, freehold. Okay? Leasehold, you've got a lease for 25 years. In my opinion, right, every year that goes by, right, that thing's worth less and less and less because of the risk, because you've built this beautiful thing, you're squeezing that orange, the juices are flowing first 10 years and the rest 15. Then you want to on-sell it to someone. The first thing they're going to ask, how long is left on the lease? 10 years. Do you have an extension? No. That devalues your property. Doesn't matter how good the villa, how good the pool, how good your bookings are, that's going to devalue that. And with what you guys are doing, that was the number one thing. Put aside Jake and his influence and 90% direct bookings on the first. Put all that aside and just go back to basics, right? Freehold, leasehold. Freehold, right? You have the rights to use that land for as long as you want. It's basically you own the land. I don't care what anyone says. You basically own the land, because if you have the right over the land that can continuously be extended forever, you own the land. That's the key. So if you build a hotel and you have a fractional ownership of $100,000, right? And that hotel does well, that hotel is appreciating over time, in my opinion, right? As long as it's doing well, it's in a good area, that block, it's the piece of land that goes up in value. That's what we have to remember here. And that is what you guys are creating, is having that ownership over that land, right? When you have that, and the land that you guys are building on is some beautiful pieces of land. Anyone can go, like I know people building villas in the back of Whoop Whoop in Bali, and I'm like, who's gonna go here? Like, who's actually gonna go here and then wait a half an hour in traffic to go to breakfast, or a half an hour in traffic to go to, the beach? And this is what was very, very unique with what you guys are doing, because we get approached by so many different people with so many different opportunities, for investment opportunities. And I weed through so much myself personally, never mind, for us to go and set a podcast up like this. Very, very important, the due diligence that needs to be done to make sure that these opportunities are legitimate for a lot of our viewers, whether they want to go or not, right? Go into something or not. Like we're going to Bali, October 6th, October 23rd, 24th. So my missus and the kids, we're going to Bali, visit some, to Dubai, right? Visit some friends. And then a couple of my other mates, business partner Adam was like, hey, if you go, let me know, we'll go check it out. Created a relationship with a New Zealander doing a lot of cool stuff in Dubai. And we just went to the database. We went to our Instagram and just said, hey guys, create a little landing page. So this is what we're doing. We're going to Dubai. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to, do a bit of a education session around, property in Dubai and how it's different from Australia, and how you can still buy some stuff for fairly affordable prices. They don't build 1 bedrooms in Australia anymore, not on the Gold Coast anyways, because too expensive to build. And come hang out with us. Rent a couple luxury coach buses. We'll go to a couple different displays. We'll book a rooftop dinner at C'est La Vie. You guys might know it, not sure, overlooking the Burj Khalifa. Next day, I hang out with a couple of our crypto partners that we're doing some stuff with there, that live in Dubai as well. And then we'll hang out at the beach club the whole next day, and we just network and hang out and just talk business and just have fun, unstructured, very casual. We got 60 people coming, which is within 4 days, we cut it off and said, okay, because 60 was the max. And we got 60 people in 4 days that are paid to come to this event, right? So this is what we're about, is looking for different opportunities, one, selfishly for myself and the crew, right? And my friends and acquaintances. And secondly, for the rest of the community, right? Because if I'm going to do something, it's got to be good enough for me. If I'm bringing somebody onto the podcast, Perry and I and Adam bringing people on the podcast, is because we've done the due diligence ourselves, and we trust who we're bringing to the audience. And what you guys are doing is that. Like I'm thinking to myself now, going, because I know you guys are doing stuff in Cape Town and Sicily, and you're looking at Mallorca and like sexy places. I was in Sicily last year. Unbelievable place.
Like, he loved it. He almost didn't come back.
Man, White Lotus put that thing on the map. You know what I mean? Taormina and all these areas that we were there. It was like, I had to pinch myself. But like, how cool would it be to do these types of events where we're going, hey, we're going with the Ventori group and we're doing an event, and it's going to be a 2-day event, and we're going to Sicily, and they're going to show us why Sicily, what they're doing, or even in Bali, and check this out. And that's what it's about, right? It's about getting out of your 5-kilometer radius, investing in the property that's 3 streets down from you, so you could drive by it and you can touch it and feel it. And you have to know who make sure that the neighbors the tenant is cutting the grass, all this rubbish that we think about, right? And this is what we're doing at Unemployable, is opening up people's minds. Go to Dubai. Let's check out Bali. Let's just different things,
Yeah.
And if it's not for guys like you bringing these opportunities, you guys are putting your balls on the line. This is your reputation, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I've got 5,000 followers on Instagram. We've got 34,000 subscribers. We got 30,000 on Instagram, 40,000 almost on Facebook. And I'm like, we've got to be extremely careful what we do, because reputation for me and the team is number one. For someone like you specifically, Jake, right, that's got 1.5 million followers, you and your wife, and you're showing you and your wife and your kid and your family. Congratulations on the newborn, by the way. Jake just had a baby not long ago. Beautiful little thing. Like, for you, reputation is everything, because you don't have 5,000 people that you're servicing. You got 1.5 million people watching you, trusting you every day, for many, many years. And this is the seriousness of this stuff, and that's why we just don't bring anybody on. And we've had, some meetings before this. I've had a chat with Jake as well, just to give people an understanding, right, of what is out there. The world is a very, very big place,
On that note as well, there's been the amount of times that we've put things out to people, and then it's the same as with the trip, is that you get people that go, hey, yeah, that sounds interesting, and then we go, look, we have to close the door on this because there has to be a time. And it's always funny where you get 100 people afterwards going, oh, I wish I did it at the right time and all that, and it's always funny how that happens. And I think what I'm trying to get at there is just really, those people that are all on the fence with these sort of things. The reason why we're doing this is because we just, by the name of what our podcast is, stay unemployable. How do you stay unemployable? By always finding ways to be unemployable. And so it's a very important thing for us as we've been growing this podcast is going, how do we just talk about being unemployable and things you can do, or do we present opportunities as well?
Yeah. And you said it before, Jake, right? Like, it's tough out there for a lot of people, like people have 50 grand sitting in the bank, 100 grand sitting in the bank. What do? There's not many options. They can't get into the property ladder, right? In Australia, they can put it into crypto, which a fair few people are doing, right? You can buy some shares, you can invest in the penny stock, or your mate that tells you, hey, I got a mate that owns a mining company that, out in WA, and they're about to just boom, we all have a mate that knows a mate that has the new up and coming mining company and these types of things. But what you guys are creating is opportunities. This is why I was talking about Dubai before, going, in Dubai, you're not buying in the Burj Khalifa, you're not buying on the Palm, but you can still buy properties there you could still buy studios and one beds for, 500, 600, 700 Aussie. Like, you can't even, like, what can you buy here for that money? You can't. And then the payment structure is very different there, right? So, you can pay it off over time, and we're just exposing these things to people, like freehold and leasehold and these types of things. So go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was going to say is I got Tommy Gallant messaging me just saying, hey, is there any more spaces on the bus for a couple people? And I just said, sorry, mate, they can join if they get the Lambo and follow the buses, though. So I'm going to see what he says.
So what I want to talk about now, and I'm mindful of time, right, is other areas around the world. Because the last time I talked to you 18 months ago, Jake, it was predominantly Bali. And that's where predominantly most of your stuff is now. But now, even on your website, you guys are talking Cape Town, you're talking Sicily, you're talking Mallorca, you're talking Dubai. Give us a little sneak peek in the areas that you're looking at, and why these areas. What are some of the due diligence that you guys are doing? What's some of the research? How deep do you go to make sure you guys are investing in the right places?
I'll let Niels
answer. Niels has started a big smile. It's like, this guy's thinking I'm going to give away all our secrets on a podcast right now.
To the contrary, I was just like, with the, like, how deep are you going, whatever, because we've done that the past like 10 weeks for some places.
My role is to find something that I know people will love and that will be successful, and then Niels's role is to make sure that it works. So he is doing all of the due diligence, but it's a really good question, Eric, because our business thesis is that there's a lot of places around the world that have a lot of opportunity, but there's higher risk, and the risk could be political, it could be instability, it could be that the contracts are not as tight, it could be that the tourism is swinging, whatever it is. We are able to mitigate risk that others can't. For example, we can create our own supply. So, Sicily, for example, Sicily is a beautiful island. And in the south of Sicily, there's very little tourism. Everyone's going to the north. And so if you put a place in Taormina, you're going to get traffic there. In the south of Sicily, there's some property that is dirt cheap, incredible, great, value for money. That could be an incredible business. But most companies wouldn't go there because they can't guarantee that they could convince people to go to that part of Sicily. Whereas we know people would be on the plane straight away, getting in a car and going there because that's a specific experience that they need. So we can mitigate that risk of like the location not being perfect. And the same with kind of South Africa. This is still a bit of an untapped market. You know, it's not Australia, it's not Germany, these kind of places. There's flexibility. What we really need for our properties is flexibility to create something special, right? In Australia, like you said, you need pool fences. Every little thing needs to be approved. You can't have this color because the neighbors don't have that. You're not allowed to put this in because of safety, whatever. That restricts your ability to create something that will go viral, that people will be like, I need to go to that place. And so we want places where we do still have a bit of that flexibility. Of course, we're keeping them safe. We're not creating like crazy places where, you know, kids are in trouble, but we need some flexibility to put in some features where people, when they see one photo online, they go, I know that place, right? In Australia, it's difficult to do that. In Germany, it's difficult to do that unless you're hundreds of millions.
And that's the thing, even in Taormina as an example, right? Like, Taormina is an amazing place, right? Now, you want to buy a block of land in Taormina and build a boutique hotel, you're going to be paying for it.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the thing. If you're going to be paying for it, you're not going to be, the fractional ownership isn't going to be, you know, 100 grand, 200 grand, right? It's going to be like 2 million each, 5 million each. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot more. So this is another thing that people need to realize is, and what you guys have done well is looking for those up and coming areas.
Yeah. And what we've realized as well is our generation don't just want an equity play, they want a cash flow play. Whereas in the hotel game, usually it's billionaires or, you know, hundreds of millions putting their cash into an asset where they just let it sit. And if it breaks even, no problem, because they're getting the appreciation. We need to find places around the world where we can still hit great margins. We can pay out good dividends, you know, 8% plus. In some of these, 8% would be kind of like the baseline, but in Bali, much more. Sicily, you know, a bit more. Cape Town, even more. But that dividend comes with appreciation as well. So, you know, we're looking for places where we combine those two things, where you can make your money back and have cash flow as a dividend, and, you know, start to build up passive income so that you can, you know, potentially leave your job or whatever, and also get the equity. And I think in Taormina, it's an equity play. In any well-known country, any tourist destination, it's always an equity play. And if you can get a bit of profit, great. For us, we need to find places where we can do both. The ultimate dream is that, you know, your audience, our community, everyone who's investing, there's a future where they've taken 1 or 2 shares in 10 different projects all around the world, diversified now off of, you know, every one project, because now they have a different hotel or resort where they own 1 or 2 shares, getting dividends from each of the properties at different rates, and, you know, creating a really reliable income stream. And on top of that, being able to go and stay at their own, you know, places that they actually own and have some shareholder benefits and things like that. So, you know, I know I would love that. I know all of my friends would love that. Niels and everyone who works with us, all of our employees are our ICP, because they would also invest into us as well. So, you know, that's what we're working towards. Yeah.
And what stage are you guys at now? With how many have you done? How many are in the pipeline? How many are getting built? Give us some numbers on what you guys have done and what you're doing.
You got news. Okay. So if we look at what we've built in total, including Jake's project before we did Mentor, including my project, we'd be above 100 units in Bali, kind of in total size, spread across 7 projects, I believe. And if we only look at Mentor, we're looking at 4 different projects. 2 of them are boutique villa hotels, and then 1 boutique hotel with a speakeasy bar, and then the resort that you spoke of with the white
the horses. And that's these are in Bali at the moment. Those are the live ones in Bali.
These are. And as you mentioned, we're right now in the process of expanding to Cape Town. That is a set location. We'll definitely be doing that. And Sicily, and looking also across kind of some up and coming places. More that we're not sure yet, but Sicily, Cape Town, those are definitely set already.
And guys, just to be completely honest and frank, when we're launching projects, if we're talking about future ones, then people are like, I want that one that's coming next.
Yes, of course.
Ideally, it's hey, you should be taking a share in multiple if you can. The one that we're launching right now is Aria. We've fractionalized a certain part of the resort, and this one is a beachside resort, 38 keys, wedding destination, 110 person restaurant, incredible spa, yoga, Pilates, surfing, horse sanctuary on the beach. And these white horses on this black sand beach is going to be that iconic image that every single person who's into travel around the whole world in 4 to 5 years will know about. And the returns for that project we're looking to hit around 18%. That's a really realistic scenario based off of what competitors are doing in the area already, and they have nowhere near our power when it comes to marketing.
You might get it up to 22, 23 if Perry is with his shirt off on one of those white horses on an Instagram video.
I don't want to embarrass people, but it is pretty embarrassing. Yeah, exactly. Well, but one of the things that's very, I think for anyone who is interested in this as well is, go and check out what you're doing on the videos and stuff like that as well. Because if your reels are, this is the thing that I don't think people understand is if you have one reel that then gets shared out to, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, even though let's say it comes from your 1.5 mil, well, you're actually hitting 2.5 mil, 3.5 mil, 5.5 mil of organic reach through every single share, because it's visually stunning that when someone sees it, they're like, oh my gosh, honey, we need to look at this. Or, and it becomes a message, or it's very quickly how things can go viral, especially if that's been your bread and butter for the last 10 years. It's almost too powerful when it comes down to building audience, because it's the thing that we've tried to do paid before. We tried to do paid, and we learned very quickly we can't do paid. You're getting the wrong audience. It just doesn't work the same way as when you figure out the organic route. And we're still figuring things out. But what we found is that when people come through you that way, they become lifelong friends and lifelong customers.
Yep.
Now, thanks for that, Barry. Another question I have is, how does it work with the shares, right? So if somebody buys a 1 or 2% share and they own it for 3 years and they paid $100,000 for the share, and how does the shares get revalued, and how can they sell the share, and who do they sell the share to?
So you can. Yeah, good question. You can basically your equity that you hold in the project, you can sell that at any time. You can also sell fractions of that at any time. You can sell that. I could sell my equity to Jake. So you could sell that to anyone in your circle. Or if you want to go route of you're a random real estate agent, for example, or agent in general, feel free. We're also happy to assist in just finding a new investor on that. And we're not, however, we just connect. We're not really taking part in this actively. You negotiate with and you get the price that you want. You of course have all of as an investor, you have the financial data and whatever, so you can base your own valuation of what you would like to sell your equity for, and then you can come to an agreement with
so it's pretty
the other person.
It's not so strict.
And that has to get submitted with the authority here in the UAE. They approve it, and then it's good.
And then the transfer happens.
So you guys, all the ownership of these properties are held through a UAE company.
So
is that right?
Yeah, how it usually works is depending on then local regulation, right? But there's a company in the UAE, and that company then owns a local company that in that jurisdiction where the project is located that operates the project.
Yeah.
One good thing, by the way, about that is we also all know that real estate is not the most liquid play that you can do. But with the fractionalization and also being able to basically sell to anyone, including us being able to assist, it's actually, you have the upside of the real estate play, but you also have more liquidity.
And the reason, like, just to kind of dig in a bit deeper, the reason it works is because if you fractionalize anything, let's say in Australia, and then you sell your share, you have sales tax on that share, which literally would be 1 or 2 years of profit. So you have to wait a while before you can even share just to break even. So obviously the markets over here, that's not the case. So you're able to move them around without having these massive fees and these massive taxes coming out of the asset. And so in Bali, typically, things get reevaluated if they're operating well and doing a really good job, 15% extra, based off like a freehold model. Like you mentioned before, if you only have leasehold and no ability to extend, your asset is depreciating at 4% per year. So if you're making 20% return, actually it's only 16. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. So you at least need to have your extension baked in so that, you can extend and then you can, stretch out that depreciation. But yeah, it's a really straightforward model, very liquid, and it allows you to genuinely own a piece of the real asset.
Yeah. And how often do you guys pay out? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? And second question is, when a hotel first opens, obviously it takes a little bit of time to build the momentum, build up the cash flow in a business. So the two questions I have is, how often are the dividends paid? And how long usually from an opening of a boutique hotel do those dividends start?
Dividends are being paid quarterly, and from when dividends start being paid out is usually after the first or the second quarter. It of course can depend with the hotel, but what's happening is we basically just, with the operations, establish some like a 5% reserve that we just need to cover a few months of operations, and after that dividends get distributed.
It's
And
go ahead.
Also, sorry, because of direct bookings and launching and whatever, usually occupancies are then higher already in the first few months.
Yeah,
that's your competitive advantage.
One of our biggest USPs is the ability to build hype before something's even ready. So we, more than anyone else, would be expecting that we're already hitting very good numbers very early on in the piece compared to everyone else, because people have been waiting for it. And a big part of our business model is also sharing the process of the construction and where it's at. And so people can follow that, and then they're already committed and they know that as soon as that booking link opens, they have to stay there. So we're able to do that a lot faster than other people.
Yeah, I love that. I love that attention.
Yeah.
We always say it. I think it was Gary Vee that maybe said, attention is the new currency, and you're literally you're literally using your attention and converting it into, currency. That's exactly what you guys are. And that's a massive competitive advantage. And this is a space, I want to be very clear, guys, that no one else would be able to get into. Like, to go and build, a boutique hotel, whether there's 8, 10, 12, 20, 30 apartments or villas, like Jake said earlier, this is where the big boys play, right? And what these guys are doing is giving opportunities to everyday Australians, everyday people from around the world that believe in a vision and that want some point of differentiation in their investment portfolio. But one thing that Neil said before is, right, invest what you're willing to lose, right? Because when you invest what you're willing to lose, you can sleep at night, right?
Yeah.
when the person that's taking their last 50 grand and putting it into Bitcoin or putting into some type of investment are not going to sleep as well, because if they lose that, they're back down to zero, right? So this is something that people really need to have a good think about, because I would take everything that anyone says on the more conservative approach and go, if you're happy with that and you get anything more than that, then that's a benefit. Right? Don't get greedy. And I think what people can get, it's human nature. We all get greedy,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's a couple of things that I got from your website here, right? And this is the point of differentiation that you guys have, right? Like, we create high performing hospitality projects designed to be seen, shared, and celebrated, right? We are a real estate platform. We design, develop, and manage boutique hotels, resorts, and globally recognizable experiences that blend striking architecture, viral visibility, and high-yield investment models. It's very, very clear in what you guys do. I can read those two things, go on your Instagram, go on your website, and that's what it says in video. That's what it says in photos when you actually look at that. And you guys, in my humble opinion, are doing an amazing job, and I've loved, to see your progress and your successes over these last 18 months. And I regret not investing 18 months ago, because I know, right? I don't even want to pull up the email and then ask you the question of what's that share worth now and what's that returning, because I'll get very upset.
Jerome, pull that email up right now.
But guys, we've been going already for an hour and 25 minutes, believe it or not. And I think this has been a very good podcast. We've dug deep in a fair few different things. It's been quite informative for me as well, because there's a few things that I didn't know. And again, really appreciate you guys being here. Like, these are two young guys. How old are you guys in your late 20s, early 30s?
33. I'm 25.
Right. So Niels is even younger, right? So 25, 33-year-olds that are building boutique luxury hotels around the world with influence and eye to detail and quality, and genuinely helping others, with this fractional ownership, for people that have the 50 to 80 grand, those are the minimums roughly. I think that's what you said before, Jake. Yeah. This could be opportunity for somebody like you. But again, do your due diligence and, see what happens, like, I think what you guys are doing, like I said before, is extraordinary for two young guys like yourselves. Even Perry, when I was talking to him about it before, he's like, what's Ventori about? He's seen a little bit about it, and he's like, wow, what these guys are doing is amazing. Like the properties, the renders, the photos. And it's not just renders, it's real projects. So I just want to take my hat off to you guys and just say, well done, mate. And I can't wait to see where you guys are in 5 years, in 10 years. And I definitely will be joining you guys. And a vision of mine is having, the unemployable community, and having an event in these different areas, and maybe even Bali, let's maybe try and set something up for, early mid next year, depending on when I forget when the rain season is there, and do something like what we're doing in Dubai. Because what we want to do, right, is people to stay and become unemployable who aren't, by investing in different things and differentiating their investments and spreading the risk. Because how cool would it be, right, to be sitting around a table with mates or acquaintances or family, and so what have you been up to? Just I own a portion of a hotel now in Sicily. Yeah, I got, X amount of owner stays a year. Like, that's pretty cool chat, right? Not many people buy, Tesla stock or Telstra stock or, Apple stock, and around a table go, yeah, I own a portion of Apple, because it's like 0.0000001%. But imagine saying you own, a small slice or a bigger slice, depending on where you're at, of a hotel, and you can stay there and get owner stays and perks like that as well. So for anybody that wants to know more about what Niels and Jake are doing at Ventori, go to www.unemployable.com.au/Ventori. So VENTORE. Register your interest there. The boys and one of their team members can get in contact with you. They have amazing presentations that they put together. And again, they're not desperate. This isn't a desperate plea going, oh, I need X amount to do this. They've got more demand than they have supply. But again, I thought it'd be a great idea to get these guys on and share what they're doing. Because to be honest with you, this is one of the most exciting things that I've seen in a long time, because it ticks a lot of boxes. And it's probably because I've been in the holiday accommodation business as well. And I've kind of been infatuated with, Bali and villas and just investing overseas. And this is something that is so attainable and it's not out of reach for a lot of people. So appreciate what you guys do. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's been an honor, truly. And like you said, for anyone that's interested, you can just set up a call, have a chat with our team, learn a bit more about it. No pressure whatsoever. It's just an opportunity that's out there. It feels more tangible, more real, like you said, something cool to be a part of. And for us, it would be an absolute pleasure to partner with like-minded people who.
So really appreciate you guys. Like, you look at Perry, he's from the UK, lived in South Korea, movie star over there. He was famous, because he's one of the, only white, blue-eyed guys with a UK accent, even though they were speaking fluent Korean, and, was doing TV commercials and everything. Left there. Now he lives in Thailand, hanging out in Thailand. Like, this is very abnormal to a lot of people. You guys, residents of Dubai, I've been following you, Jake. You're in Sicily, you're going to Cape Town. You're like, it's just amazing to see where the world is at. And I love talking to you guys because it pushes me out of my comfort zone. So we're going to catch up, Niels, when I'm in Dubai in the next few weeks. And hopefully, thank you. Thanks again, Perry. And hopefully everyone enjoys this one. Again, guys, like, subscribe, comment. Without the subscribers, we won't get the traction that we need to get. We won't get the guests that we need to get on. I mean, we're in competition now. Like, we got Jake's 1.5 million followers. I got 5,000. I got a lot of catching up to do, mate. I got tall poppy syndrome at the moment. No, appreciate you guys. And thanks, guys. And we'll see you on the next one.
Stay unemployable.
Hey there. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Unemployable. If you'd like to watch another episode, just click there.